Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and good morning to all of you. So we reached to the third day of Bipalma, and today we have a lot of good keynote speaker and plenary. Also we have plenary talk, and we have also the discussion panel 3 today. So first we are going to start with the keynote 6, uh, who is Prof. Naceur Belgam from the France. He is going to talk about the cellulose as a substrate for active surface theory and applications. So before I call the Prof. Naceur, I just want to give a brief introductions about the Prof. Naceur. Prof. Mohamed Naceur Belgam is the head of the Grenoble INB Pagoda Engineering School, and Professor Naceur received his engineering diploma in wood science at St. Petersburg Forest Academy in 1986, Russia. He then got a PhD in material science, material engineering and science from the Polytechnic Institute of Grenoble, France in 1991. He was then awarded a fellowship from the National Research Council of Canada to carry out a postdoctoral training for 2 years in Polytechnic School of Montreal, Canada as a researcher in the field of surface and interface phenomena in cellulose-based composite materials. On his return back, he worked in the R&D department in industry for 5 years before moving to University of Beira Interior in Portugal, where he spent 3 years from 1997 to 2000 as an associate professor, and Dr. Belgam was nominated full professor in 2000 at the Polytechnic Institute of Grenoble, France. He has published more than 350 scientific papers, including 2 books and more than 25 book chapters with more than 20,000 citations. His H-index is more than 70, and Professor Belgam was also the editor-in-chief at a very Q1 journal, Industrial Crop and Products, and is still he is a part of that journal. And besides that, I think that he is also the part of a few more journals in the editorial board of related to cellulose-based composite material. So before further delay, I want to call the Prof. Naceur to please come on the stage and give his keynote talk.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for this kind introduction. Yeah, I need to walk and I need my hands to speak. So to be here could be a little bit handicapping. So this is for, yeah, okay. So I'm really honored to be with you, and I have missed the before session, the editions because of some commitments and so on. But today I'm very, very happy to be personally and then in the presence of all my colleagues. So of course, I would like to thank the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about our, let's say, research topics and what we think about the general tendency of using raw materials from, let's say, biomass in general. So I would like to have a lecture which is much less focused in a catalog of our research and our success story, but much more about the how about the context in general? What is the society expectations? Where we have opportunities and so on. So I am really, I would like to succeed in this exercise because I'm a little bit tired from presenting the results of my students. So let me tell you something about what I am thinking in this context. Not this one? which one is for, this one? Ah, okay. So, as I told you, I would like to start with a very broad introductions in how we are expecting today. And we hear everybody, we hear a lot of things about, and at the right moment, in the neighboring countries, there is a COP28 and so on, and we are really trying to be concerned by the environment, by the sustainability and so on. So I would like to talk a little bit about this. Then I would like to talk about okay, when we are dealing with composites, with any materials in which we are trying to reinforce its properties, we are always practically facing two surface phenomena, okay? And at the end, and only at the end, I will give you few examples of my own research. It means the research which is made by my students. So what the society is expecting today? Society is expecting more bio. The society is expecting more functions. If you, a lot of you have seen probably how the mobile phone was developed, and 30 years ago it was a mobile phone which have difficulty to be mobile because it was heavy, cumbersome, and only phoning. Today he is much lighter with an amazing number of functions. People is looking for lighter things. We are systematically reducing the weight of goods because it is much easier to transport them. We spend less energy and so on. And people would like to have non-toxic component, non-toxic, nothing toxic in their life. So all these things requires to have in face some raw material which could fulfill all these requirements. And generally speaking, in addition to food, man needs energy, needs materials, and needs fine chemicals. Fine chemicals mostly for pharmacy, cosmetics, drugs. If we would like to see, to combine our needs by what is available in the raw materials which are in the earth, light, biosustainable. So let's see, we have three family of materials: metals, inorganic materials, organic materials. If we'd like to fulfill about the two biosustainable, we have no choice. We should use renewable materials. Sustainability is renewable materials, not those which are renewed each 100 millions of years, but those which are renewed in a kinetics which is very compatible with our existence. Few years, 1 year, okay. Functionals, the nature is providing us a lot of functional products, antimicrobial, antibiotics, and so on. But some of them are not, so we should have the possibility to provide them new functions. In order to have this, we will see what we need. If we are looking for light, then we have no choice. Organic materials are the lightest one. No choice. Metals, density of about 10 and more. Inorganic, density of about 3, let's say, on average. Organic materials, density of 1. So, no choice. Renewable materials, there is no choice. Biomass. And reactivity, if it is not in situ, if it is not naturally, we should have some organic functions which will provide, which will allow us to make some chemistry to provide the functions we are looking for. So let's go to biomass. Which biomass we have? we have two biomass, animal, vegetal. Animals is mostly humans and animals. Vegetables is mostly annual plants and wood. Let's exclude those which are used in food stream, because if not, we will have some ethical problems. We will use something in applications like materials or any other things which are destined for food. So this is, from ethical point of view, not possible. So it means that we should focus in, let's say, things which are not used for food stream. If we look for this part, so we have practically wood and any agricultural residue, of course, which is not used for food stream, including for feed for animals. So wood is cellulose, mostly, as we will see, but hemicellulose also and lignin. If we look for the percent of these things, then we have practically cellulose, hemicellulose, 75%, and lignin, polyphenolic molecule. Okay, but cellulose, hemicellulose are sugars. Polysaccharides, for sure, but they are, in fact, they could be go down to sugars. So I believe that tomorrow we will have, when I'm telling tomorrow, it means in few hundreds of years, but for the Earth is tomorrow. For us, it's not tomorrow, unfortunately, okay? It will be based, sugar-based chemistry. Because you will see the quantities, it's practically no way of escaping this. Polyphenols are also very important as antioxidant and so on. So, okay, let's see about the key data and how credible it is, the shifting to cellulose, to sugars, to these raw materials which are renewable, which could be found, including, of course, in palm, which is a wood, okay? And if yes, in which concern, in which stream? Energy, materials, chemistry, and if yes, in all these questions, then how it is credible in terms of economics, how it is credible in terms of, let's say, ethic, and so on. And to what extent we can go in this direction. And how technically is hard. If we see the key data, then we will see that in the Earth, I'm talking about the production of biomass, not about what we have. What we have is 33 times more. But I'm talking about, for example, for vegetable biomass, is just what the photosynthesis provide us annually. And of course, in a worldwide context. 450 gigatons. Mostly wood. Animals which include our family, humans, are much less. Animals which include those which we use for food are much less. Okay? If you see the difference between vegetal and animal biomass, it's practically 1 to 5. Okay? 20/80. Okay, this is a data. Of course, we can have some discrepancy in terms of the data available in 10%, but okay. Depending on the source, you can have more or less 5% for this or this context, but nothing really which make this data non-exploitable. Of course, annual plants are mostly used for food, so we should be care about. Wood is the most abundant, and the most important thing is to think that starting with very two small molecules, carbon dioxide and water, you produce millions and millions. The nature produce millions and millions. If any chemist, any very, very bad chemist will never do this. Because, in fact, it is not pure chemistry, it is chemistry assisted by enzymes and it is living mechanisms. So it produces the molecule which needs at a given time. Okay. Moreover, they are mostly, as a rule, hydroxy function rich molecules, which means that a little bit later, when I was talking about the possible functionalizations, which is suitable for functionalization. Again, okay, suitable for functionalization because hydroxy functions you could make esters, ethers, and so on. But it is bad because it is hydrophilic, and it will always water uptake and release, which makes dimensional stability very, very bad. So, okay, we have fashion words, circularity, sustainability, green, and so on. But let's think a little bit that they are not only fashion, but they are a reality because we cannot anymore pollute the earth. We should be very, very careful about this. So, okay, we have a lot of things which are let's say, developed, and I would say right now, because it avoids some questions after, there is no concurrence between the raw materials. It is complementarity. It's just a complementarity. It's just a good sense. If you are able to use something from renewable resources, it is better than fossil resources, but because fossil resources, please keep them for something in which renewable resources cannot fulfill the task. So, okay, when I'm putting fossil versus renewable, it means there is no war between them. They are complementary. We need them both. Moreover, we are more and more in the earth, and we will need more and more raw material. So this biorefinery concept, which means that we will use rationally the biomass, and we will practically make a parallel between refining of petroleum and refining of biomass, which has nothing to do, for sure, is really something which attracts a lot of researchers, which is producing a lot of science, a lot of knowledge, and so on. And but the differences are very, very huge. Today you cannot use the refinery of petroleum to feed it by wood. They will be burned, and that's all. No component of them, or only 2% of them, will be in vapor state. So let's drawing this thing. Let's dream a little bit. Let's have a dream. The man who told this phrase a few decades ago went bad, so I hope I will not follow the same route, but let's dream. Let's dream that we will use raw material coming from bio-based, let's say, synthesis, as much as we can, and as much as it is relevant and it is fulfill the tasks, even if for today it is a little bit more expensive. And let's dream and let's put our questions. Can we shift to this? Can we shift this? And I would like that you are convinced like me that the answer is yes, we can. I would say yes, we should. There's no choice. Okay. So why yes we can? Because we have a very abundant source. We have a easy functionalization of this very abundant source, which in past have shown that we can, of course, and cellulose acetates are the first polymers in the earth. The first synthetic polymers were bio-based. It was just the esterification of cellulose. Cellulation, which is also very, very good to provide some new silane-based functions, is quite similar because the cellulation of glass is very similar to cellulation of cellulose, and so on. So there is a lot of opportunities, and these opportunities could be applied to cellulose as a fiber, as a nanofiber, as a macromolecule if we dissolve it in solvent, and so on. So we have a lot of possibilities, and we did a lot of things, including very bad, non-green things at the beginning with solvent, which are totally like dimethyl sulfoxide and so on. Okay, but we are learning. Nothing complicated. We are learning, and we're using few milliliters of solvent. So we are not using industrial quantities. So we have a lot of routes in both in terms of submitting cellulose in different varieties of form, but also in different strategies of chemical grafting, which could give really very, very useful materials. And I would like to give you a few examples of these things. But before, I would like to spend probably 5 minutes in how difficult it is working with surface. Because in fact, as soon as you try to modify cellulose or any surface, you don't think that it is complicated, but we have some very famous people who was working in these things, and we have learned from them the following considerations. If we are working with metals, and the example I am citing is the example of Wolfgang Pauli, Nobel Prize of Physics, who was working with aluminium. And he has all the properties of aluminium without any problem. Bulk aluminium, density, Young modulus, opacity, electrical conductivity. Any bulk properties was there. But as soon as he started working with the surface, then it became complicated. And why it became complicated? Because in fact, the metal is not metal. The metal at the upper molecular layers is oxide of metals. And we shift from metal to inorganic material, which is metal oxide. Moreover, this metal oxide reacts with water. And with water, when you react with water, you have then the loss of protons and you have hydroxides. So you are thinking that you are working with metal, and you are working with metal which is polluted by two molecular layers, oxides and hydroxides. Okay, and then if it is one layer among milliards, or doesn't matter. No, you will see that surface is only few molecular layers. Why the surface is only few molecular layers? Because if you look for something which is very, very old for us, the Colombian interactions, the interaction in the matter. When you go from one layer to another, the interactions of layer 3 to 1 become much weaker than the interaction of layer 2 to 1. And this dependency is a function of the density, is inverse function of the distance between the molecular layers, a power something, 2 for metals, 12 for organic materials. So if we use And the surface is, what does it mean, the surface? The surface is the number of molecular layers in which you come to the layer which has no influence at all at the surface. It doesn't dictate any power. So if we try to see how this the strength of this force is acting, you see that starting from the fifth layer of molecular layers, there is no influence. The sixth layer have no influence at all to compare with the surface with respect to the surface properties, because it weaken even in metals 25 times. It means that you have 100 giga and it became 4. So surface is one nanometer at max. So 1 nanometer is even what you put when you touch something. When you put as a animal oil, when you just touch the surface, you leave there 1 nanometer. So this was illustrated by Pauli Wolfgang, who was telling that surfaces are made by metals are made by God, surfaces are made by the divine. Because he never understood that there is a big difference between bulk and surface properties. And now it is very, very well known, and we deal with. Surface is always contaminated. And the contamination of the surface could be right after relevant because, as you see, is 1 nanometer. So any contamination, even that which is very, very slight, few seconds, kills the surface properties. To give you an idea, aluminum purified with extremely high intensity plasma, you put it in the atmosphere, in 1 second, you have 9 layers of carbon at the surface. Why? Because we have Brownian movement. Because everything is under agitation, thermal agitations. Because the surface will be bombarded by all surrounding molecules. And some of these surrounding molecules will bombard it and will absorb in it and will remain there. So the surface, you think that it is good and so on, but in fact, it is really contaminated. Okay, so you know the Brownian movement, which is the highest in gas because you have the highest entropy and the lowest in solids, but even solids are contaminated. So if we see in the 3 families, typically, aluminum is contaminated by oxygen or any other contaminations, but polymers, in instance, since they have low surface energy, their contamination comes from inside. It's the migration from small molecules from the bulk to the surface. And cellulose, of course, you have a lot of small molecules because cellulose is produced at the same time in the presence of terpenes, in the presence of abiotic acids and derivatives, oils, and so on. Even if wood is 98% of cellulose and lignin, you have 2% of small contaminants, which, since we are dealing with living mechanism, terpenes, for example, alpha, beta, pinene, and so on, they are produced just because the tree, when he's growing, he's trying to protect himself from insects. So he's releasing small molecules which make such a way that these insects go out. So 3 small examples, and then I will leave you tranquil. First is cellulose is something which is hydrophilic, and of course, it's very, very rich hydroxy functions. And we know that in, let's say, in the area of self-cleaning surfaces, which is very, very well developed also area, especially for high added value products, including watches, which glasses, which I have in my face. They combine both physicochemistry to nano-roughness, because physicochemistry allows you to have some hydrophobic character, which is typical for example, Teflon-based surfaces. This gives you a contact angle of water about 120. If you'd like to go further, if you'd like to go further in terms of unwettability of your surface, you should add something. What you add is what we call nano roughness. Of course, you get the first part of chemistry by this type of molecules, and the second one you get them by these nano roughness, which are illustrated in this slide. And you see if you make very, very small roughness, bigger one, and the combination of two, you can have I don't have a pointer, right? Okay, you can have something in which you reach very, very high contact angle of a droplet of water. You see, more than 165 degrees. And you see in the upper figure, the adhesion between the needle of the searing and water is higher than the adhesion between the surface and the droplet of water. So total unwettable surface. So we try to do it for cellulose. We worked with chlorosilane, and what we have is something which 136 is higher than 120 with even 100 for cellulose is too big. Cellulose, generally speaking, when you put a droplet of water, it's absorbed practically instantaneously, unless you have a very, very high-speed camera to get the first images. So you see that if there is no, oh, sorry, you see that, oh, la la. Can I go back, please? Yeah, okay, I found it. So you see that it is 36 degrees, one without any modification. If I modify without roughness, then it will be something around 110. With roughness, you see 136, which is quite high for cellulose. And to the best of my knowledge, this is the highest one for today. So what you are killing, in fact, you are killing the porosity of the surface. The surface will have a porosity of about 25, and it is becoming practically zero if you see the last example. The second example is active packaging. We did it because we know that we have a very big problem in Europe, at least, and what we call nosocomial diseases, in which are just associated with the fact that some staff is working with different tools, different syringes and so on, and is manipulating a lot of boxes. And from time to time, the propagation of the virus is just made because you are shifting from one patient to another, and you bring with you the microbe of the patient one to the second one through this package, this syringe, this, and so on. So the idea was how to and the new way you see 75,000 people is killed just by nosocomial. It is killed by a microbe which has nothing to do with its original disease. Okay. So what we have tried to do is one of the biggest problem is the boxes, which are not active surfaces. So we tried to graft penicillin at the surface of these packages, such a way that if the nurse will open a box, even if she had a microbe from the patient N-1, it will be killed because you have penicillin. But penicillin should be chemically grafted because it should not be transferred from the box to the nurse, because if not, she will develop, let's say, a resistance to antibiotics or any other molecule. Okay, so we did it. We grafted penicillin on the surface of packages, and we tried to, of course, to check if it is efficient and so on with different techniques. We have papers in this, and there is no problem of doing this. And we have even make some in vitro analysis in order to see that these packages are really active. Okay, and we have also checked that there is no release of penicillin, because releasing penicillin means that you will contaminate your people who is working with these boxes. We have even produced 500,000 boxes, which were tested in several hospitals in order to see if it is efficient. But you know, in this context, you have a lot of regulation, for reglementation, it takes times and so on. But at least from our part, which we are not selling nothing except knowledge, we did the job. The rest is not our business. The last example, and then I will stop here, is again associated with medical applications and involving our raw material, which is cellulose. So it is how to fight against post-operation infections. You see, if you see more than one century ago, people died in this earth less than 40 years old. So good news, we are living much more. But at the same time, we need much more operations, much more medicine, etc. And these operations requires some care, because a lot of people have, 5% have a post-operation infection. So if we see which are the most common, let's say, operations, the second one, which are hernia, are very, very, very important. And what we have tried to do is we try to functionalize the mesh which is used to repair this hernia by something which will kill the infection if there is an infection. And for this purpose, we have functionalized the mesh, which was coated by cellulose, by a chemistry which calls upon use of prodrugs. It means that the molecule which will kill the infection will be released only if there is an infection. Okay, so I will, yeah, and the drug, you see the drug is only the end of the molecule. So there is no infection, there is no release of molecule. And we know that this release is associated with the presence of an enzyme. So we try to see the molecule and the chemical link which is sensitive to this enzyme, to the presence of this enzyme. And we, of course, we have some complicated chemistry, expensive, well, there is no doubt about, but what is more expensive than the health of women? Okay, so we did a lot of, let's say, click chemistry and a lot of things. And what is important is the molecule which will be released is only this one. And it will be released if there is infection, because the infection is associated with the release of this enzyme. So, of course, again, we have some papers, we have even patent and so on. It goes very well, and we even ex situ tried to see if we add the enzyme to this mesh, which is functionalized, there is a release of this molecule. We even make some in vitro analysis, which shows that it goes very well. So again, we are dealing with health problems, we are dealing with men, women, so it takes much more time to be an industrial reality. Just to conclude very, very quickly that I think and I believe that cellulose is one of the oldest chemicals, but could be have a second life because it could be functionalized. We have made a lot of, and when I'm telling we, it means the scientific community. A lot of performance in terms of surface chemistry, but we need more work to go through. And you know, generally speaking, when you have especially for plenary lectures at the end, you have people gives applause and so on. Yeah, even if the speaker is bad, but I would like, if you give applause, it will be not for me, but for these people.
Thank you, Prof. Naceur, for giving a marvelous talk related to the applications of cellulose, and functionalizations and how it can be practically applied, especially in the medicals. It's not easy to make commercializations after a lot of hurdles. But as he say, as a researcher, he done the job. So now the regulations and other thing that is not under the control of the researchers. So now, as he say that, we have to applause still for him because it's a good talk, not a bad. So we have we have some time still to, if I can take some questions, if anybody have any questions. No questions? Everybody have clear or anything you want to ask? Any audience? No?
I just would like to tell that even if, for example, if we take in the history, the catalyst of Ziegler-Natta was when the specific polymerization of polypropylene, and nobody believed in the fact that this catalyst will be. The scientific community believed, and they give them the Nobel Prize because it was very, very smart catalyst. Nobody believed. But because it is very expensive and it is platinum-based. And today, 50 million soft ton of polypropylene is made by this catalyst. Just because someone think that, okay, because the catalyst is small beads of platinum at the surface of which there is a growing of polymer. And then you sacrifice it because you will never you will never recover it. Up to the day that you have another man who tells, okay, but everything is occurring at the surface. Let's use empty spheres of silica at the surface of which we put 1 nanometer of platinum. Then you reduce the price of the catalyst by 10,000 times. Then it became economical reality. Then it became 15 millions of tons of polypropylene in the world every year today. So we should just believe in our, but probably Ziegler and Natta have never seen polypropylene by specific, but there is no, what we are leaving is the patrimonium for our children and not for us. For us, it's too late.
Prof. Naceur, if there is no question, I have one question from you.
Yes, please.
Especially like, for example, the cellulose, nanocellulose, and all these things, what we are extracting.
Yeah.
Main problem for us to scale up, So what's your thought on that one? How we can be, because until we don't scale up, we cannot do the commercializations and product and all these things.
It's generally speaking, there is much more possibility technically to compare with those which are really commercial solutions. Okay, so if we see, for example, typically today we are processing 400 million of tons of wood to produce cellulose fibers for paper making. So the craft process, which is cooking of wood to produce fibers, bleached or not, is as old as 1,886 years. So it is possible. Why? Now, And you can even cook your salad to produce cellulose, but you will get only 2% of cellulose.
Yeah, that's the big issue.
So it's an issue which is much more related to the competitivity, economical competitivity. So technically, there is a lot of solutions, including new ones like organosolve and so on. What is important is if tomorrow we don't have choice for using these, and if tomorrow the public power will make, let's say, some subvention to this area, then it will be economically viable. Then we will produce it because the technical solutions are ready, and we should prepare these technical solutions, leave them. Even if today they are not credible, economically speaking, leave them for the next generation. They will be one day.
Okay, just we are in the bipalma. So
Yeah.
what about the date palm fibers and oil palm and other fibers? What's your thought on that,
I think in wood chemistry in general, you have cellulose, hemicelluloses, and lignin, okay? Yeah. Cellulose is, the only difference between the species is the yield. But the macromolecule is the same.
The same, yeah.
So it doesn't matter from where you will extract. And from west, from Palma is even easier because the density is the morphology is much open and so on. So for me, what is problematic in this context is much more related, which is common to annual plants in general, or annual residues, agricultural residues, is how can you build a mill in which you should close for 3 months because you don't have raw materials anymore because it is not the season. And how can you have a stock of raw materials such a way that you can run 1 year without interruption? This is problematic, first. The second one, which is absolutely not problematic for Palma, is the presence of silica. Silica is very bad for any process in which you have filtrations, pressing, etc. But for Palma tree, for Palma, let's say residues, no problem with this, because it is too high to avoid the silica which is in the soil.
In the soil, okay. Thank you, Prof. Naceur, for giving a valuable talk to us. Now I just want to call, No. Oh. Huh? Okay, just give that.
Thank you, Jouit, and I would like to thank you, Naceur BELGACEM, for this nice presentation. I would like just to add one comment when speaking about diet palm for the component to production. I agree with Professor BELGACEM that it will be hard to, we have a lot of linear source biomass to produce, like for paper making. But in all cases, if you're looking deeper, for company you need water, and the water we have not enough now. That what this challenge for the biomass. But if looking just about date palm tree, you not need a lot of water to growing. That's why for me it is a good opportunity to work with palm and to extract fiber and to do many things application.
Because yesterday I met with some industry guys, so I talked to him that we have a lot of research, but we are facing the problems to how to scale up and all these things. So he said, no, we are looking at that one. You can come with the idea, and we are ready to make it live, So we have to find that the tuning with the industrial financiers and others to tune up what we have researched to implement and to scale up, and then we look for that one.
That's why I agree with Prof. BELGACEM when he say you should to big dream. Sure,
of course,
that one time will be
without dream,
reality.
Nothing is going to happen.
Sure, sure.
Okay, thank you so much. So now, I just called Dr. Nasi Khalid to please come on the stage to give the memento to Prof. Naceur. Come from
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we are moving forward that towards our second